Hi guys, so this is going to be one more live video I'm doing really quickly just to talk about the new moon coming up in October. So I believe that's on October 27th. Let me just see. Yeah, so it's October 27th, 28th, and we're going to be having a new moon in Scorpio, and it's going to be opposing Uranus. And I will talk about what that means. So if you'd like your own reading, as always, go to naomitarot.com. I'm offering $90 special, 7 questions or 5 questions plus a chart until November 2nd. It is the Samhain special, the old Irish holiday celebrating Halloween. And that is normally $100 for either one of those readings. So definitely get it. And I will be changing my pricing on November 1st to time instead of questions because it's just getting a little exhausting for me doing it by question and a little confusing with the pricing doing it by question. So it will be by 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour, and the pricing will be up November 1st or 2nd to change it, just so you know. So this is the last month you can get readings by question. So anyways, the new moon is in Scorpio, which talks about unleashing those truths about ourselves. It's very much death card energy. You know, it's very representative by number 13, the death card, which talks about endings, new beginnings, metamorphosis. It talks about how we change, how people in the world will change, maybe some of your favorite celebrities, how their lives will change and never to return to the same again. Uranus also talks about the element of surprise. So because the moon is opposing Uranus in Scorpio, the new moon on the 27th, we're going to have some things happen that maybe we didn't expect. Maybe something's going to end abruptly that you didn't expect to end. But take most endings as a good thing, not to be, Pollyanna, like I always say on this channel. But if you have a choice between taking something as purely negative or taking something as positive, what's going to help your life better? It's not going to help you to take things as purely negative all the time. Just like I always tell people, tearing apart people in the media, bashing people's names, discrediting them, complaining about them, getting angry about them isn't going to help you in your life. It's just going to drag your energy down further. So that's why I often find people who have the worst things to say about others usually are not very happy themselves. So the way we can harness this energy with the new moon is to welcome those unexpected events, to be ready for the element of surprise, right? Because it's all about the element of surprise, the element of change. Change also talks about Scorpio. Surprise is more Uranus energy because it's opposing the new moon. The element of endings and new beginnings and change is Scorpio. Scorpio is represented by the crow, the scorpion, the snake, and the phoenix. I think Scorpio gets some cool symbols. I don't have that as my sign. I have it as my ascendant, but I always thought Scorpio had some cool symbols. So it talks about, what does it talk about? Introspection, death, as in endings, new beginnings, wisdom, right? Delving deeper into the topic of something that you're passionate about and learning those truths, but also being willing to open up to the element of surprise, of letting go of expectations, of accepting things maybe turning out to be different than what you have thought, if you need to balance your energetic planes, or not planes, the fields around you, maybe you want to start wearing some crystals or some kind around your neck. I right here have an amethyst heart. I have a clear quartz, and I also have another clear quartz with a Mother Mary metal. So these are just 3 that I wear, that I've been wearing. It will help balance your energetic fields, whatever you believe in. It doesn't have to be Mother Mary, but whatever you resonate with that's a goddess or god archetype that you feel comfortable with, I'd recommend. And I appreciate you guys for coming, Ms. English Tea and Brenda. I appreciate you. And so, I mean, I think on a larger level, all signs are going to be affected by this. I would say, to answer your question, Brenda, maybe water signs are going to be affected a little bit more if you have it in your sun and moon, if you're a woman, or if you're a man, if you have it in your sun or Mars. because water signs resonate with Scorpio, especially Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer. They kind of resonate more with one another. I would also say signs that are complementary to Scorpio probably are going to feel it more too. Like Virgo is a complementary sign to Scorpio. Let's see, what's another sign that's pretty complementary to Scorpio? I would say usually, sometimes to Scorpio, in a weird way, Capricorns can be complementary, but it depends on the energy of the two. So Virgos, Capricorns, they're going to be kind of shaken up by the element of surprise. Taurus too, because earth signs are not as good with change all the time. They kind of like dig their heels in more. They want to like, things to stay the same and how they planned out for a while. Kind of like Scorpio can be accepting of change, but they can be accepting of it when it's the change they wanted, right? When it's the change they wanted or the surprise they thought they wanted, right? Pisces, in a way, will be more affected emotionally by the upheavals of this time period, but at the same time, might not be. Depends on how much you have in your chart compared to other signs, because Pisces actually has a tendency to go with the flow and be more accepting of the unusual things that can happen. However, if you have maybe like a fixed earth sign like Taurus in your chart and your Pisces, and you have it in your moon or something, you might not handle it so well. Depends really what your chart is. Hi, Wee Bird. That's a cute name. Thanks for coming. I was just reading the comments. So there's that element of surprise, being prepared for what the universe throws at you. Like, I hope, God forbid, nobody loses their jobs or relationships or something like that. But if it happens, it's not about jumping up and down for joy and saying, this is so wonderful that this happened. It's more so just accepting, well, maybe this is where my life is going. This is what direction my life needs to go in now, and understanding that, there, what is meant to be will be. And accepting that is going to help you more than resisting it, right? It's about going with the flow, not streaming, not swimming upstream and against the current, right? So what else can we do? On a new moons are also good times to start planning what you want to do for the next month, for the next year. And this is a great time to have a new moon because it's right before Samhain, which originally to the Celtic, Irish, and Scottish, and Northern French, and wherever else Celtic people lived as well. Sorry for my ignorance if I don't know. I only know those three areas. But it's a good time because it was their original new year, right? It's a good time to prepare for the darker half of the year. What are you going to do in the darker half? This new moon is like a fresh start. Yeah, there's going to be some things shaken up and upheavals, but it's also a fresh start to begin again, to plan out what you want to do in the dark half. What aspects of yourself do you want to refine that are maybe more creative, like water sign energy, like painting or writing? You want to start writing a book. Do you want to start getting to know yourself better, or where your priorities are? Are you happy living where you're living? Do you want to plan a move for the spring? Do you want to plan, to take your career in a different direction? What type of things do you want to start planning that you can ruminate on in the winter and then act on in the spring? I mean, you can still act on things in the winter and do action. Of course, we still go to work in the winter. We still do actions in the winter. But usually those times to make those big decisions, like to actually carry out the actions behind those big decisions, is usually in the spring and the summer. And the winter and the fall are those introspective time periods. So how can you introspect? How can you get deeper down to the truth of where you're going, what you want in your life? How can you express yourself spiritually through art, through writing, etc.? I'm going to try to finish my book over the winter. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm going to try. I keep telling everybody, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I don't want to make promises anymore, because the tarot cards, I still have to reproduce the major arcana ones I made. I still have to have those made, and I might add in the new 4 oracle cards into that deck just make it like an extra card deck. I might add them in, but I'm going to fix the pictures on those 4 oracle cards I just made. So, I say I have all my projects and I'm going to try to do that, but this is a good time to do those kind of things, paintings, writing, something creative, that stuff that comes from the soul's expression of itself. That's very Scorpio energy. So it's not necessarily about jumping up and actually having to put into action the plans you have, but thinking about, where am I right now in life? Who am I right now in life? And how am I different than before? And how am I going to change in the next chapter of my life? Am I the same person what have been these changes that have gone on about me that has made my life different now than it was before? You know, maybe putting that to paper, maybe journaling, you know, but definitely be prepared for something big, maybe not huge, not, I don't want to scare anybody, not terrible, but something that you didn't expect to happen on October 27th or around that time period, because that new moon is supposed to really cause some kind of big change. So let's just, you know, pray for our highest good and hope for our highest good. Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel, Michael, through the Holy Spirit. Let's just pray that our highest good is met with whatever happens on October 27th or after or around that time. Whatever upheavals occur are for everybody's highest good. And then just, you know, expect and accept only the best, highest vibrations on that time period. Sometimes it's kind of weird when I either channel or when I talk about angelic presences, when I do a prayer or an energetic thing, I either mutter or I stutter. I don't know why that is, but that happens sometimes when I channel for private readings too. Is moonstone good for Pisces? Well, they say moonstone is unlucky for anybody who's not. Oh no, that's opal. Never mind. Well, they say opal is unlucky for anybody who's not born in October, but I think that's BS. I think things are only unlucky if they believe it. But moonstone, I was getting it confused. Yeah, moonstone should be good with Pisces because it's a very water energy. It's very good for Cancer because Cancer is ruled by the moon. But it could also be good for any water sign. Anybody, anything you resonate with. You know, I happen to resonate with clear quartz crystal the most, and I like amethyst, so I get those stones. And I like rose quartz, but whatever you resonate with is your best stone. Yes, Betsy Miller, that Doris Day song, What Will Be, Will Be. I was quoting that because I was watching the show Scream Queens the other day and they had it playing in the background. It has a great soundtrack. It's like a kitschy comedy horror TV show that was only on 2 seasons, but I was watching it for Halloween and I love that song. Although the only thing I don't agree with in the song is, to be technical, the future is not ours to see. Well, that would be hypocritical for me to say that since that's what I do for a side business. But I would change it to, the future can be ours to see, but whatever will be, meaning you can see it, but it could change. So I thank you guys for coming. So if you want to ask more questions, now's the time to do it, but I'm going to get off of here. This was just a quick explanation of the moon. I wanted to do it in a separate video from the pick a number reading, just so it has an extra, you know, separation from the other topic. And I didn't feel like making a regular video, so I went live because it uploads right after I'm done. So it's a little easier to put up this way because I don't have to wait for it to be edited and uploaded. So you can ask your questions now if you would like. And then I'm going to get off of here. That was just to let everybody know about October 27th and to start preparing for what kind of things you're willing to let go of, what kind of things you want to embrace that are more artistic, right-brained, feminine energy pursuits for the winter, because the winter is very yin energy. The summer is very yang energy. So, or we could reword it. I don't have to use those terms. I could use divine feminine, divine masculine, whatever you resonate with, right? Winter is very goddess energy. Summer is very God energy, right? If you go along with the Wiccan read, it's very much about introspective feeling, reflecting, right? Summer is very much about doing, goal creating, goal meeting, enjoying, socializing, right? Not that you don't do that in the winter, because we do. We socialize around the holidays, but it's about that heart center, and I hope it is if we're doing it on a high vibration, that heart center connection with family, with friends, with loved ones, within the home, which is still feminine. So it's just a different time of year where we get more into our divine feminine in this type of year, this type of part of the year, this energy of the year, whereas the other part of the year is more masculine energy. Brenda, have I always been psychic? I was actually going to do a video on this once. I promised it a while ago that I was going to do like a Q&A video about how I became a tarot reader and my background a little bit, but I never did it. But to answer your question, I don't think it's something that you really acknowledge as that's the word you are. Um, to be honest, I always knew I was different. I'm the black sheep in my family. I'll probably do a whole video on this and go in detail on this. But I'm the black sheep in my family. I'm the one who kind of didn't do things mainstream. And to make a long story short, and I kind of always knew I wasn't like a regular mainstream, I do things in a straight ordered way like everybody else type of person. I didn't know as a child that that was psychic. I did have experiences with spirits when I was a child, quite heavily, where I know that that world does exist and there is life after death. However, I didn't label it as a medium or psychic as a child. I just was kind of scared. And then I was able to control that ability more as an adult, where I don't just randomly see or hear things. I can turn it on or off, and it's not as heightened as it was as a child. As a child, I'd literally like see them. I don't see them anymore. Um, so I always knew I had something different, but I don't think it was labeled by others as real. People kind of dismissed it as a childhood imagination. So I didn't receive a lot of support with my family from that. However, I get, and I would like to say, if you ever watch this, Marie, my aunt supports me quite a lot in it and always has, um, and has never questioned my ability on things. So I kind of like always knew that there was something that I could do that other people couldn't, not because I felt better. I actually felt strange, but I didn't know that it was psychic, so to speak. I just knew that I could see things and hear things people didn't hear or see, just so you guys know. And I do also have a background in mental health and illnesses, so I know the difference between that and somebody who actually is seeing things or is hallucinating, or somebody who is seeing things and is mentally ill, because I do actually believe there is a portion of the mental illness population which they dismiss as mentally ill, who some of them actually are seeing things. But the difference between them and somebody who is like a psychic like me is that I have the ability to control it. And I also have the ability now to tap into positive spirits only, whereas somebody who has schizophrenia, I don't dismiss that all of them are just hallucinating. I think there is a portion who actually are seeing something, and I've said this on my channel before. However, having worked with them, I think the difference is they don't have the ability to control it, and they don't have the ability to protect themselves from it. So to answer your question in a long drawn about way, digressing, I always knew that there was something different about me, but I didn't really quite have a word for it or know that it could be used for good when I was younger. But now I do, obviously. Okay, so writing for me is something I always wanted to get into. I just feel like the devil card, something holding me down or helping me or keeping me changed from doing what I like. This English tea. Sometimes, yeah, I mean, sometimes we can feel like that. We can feel a sense of stagnation in our lives, and sometimes we feel like we're just not ready to do something. Don't put more pressure on yourself to do it, I would say. English tea is like, if you feel like you're not giving the energy to do something for whatever reason, don't put yourself in that extra pressure mode to do it. And I understand as a Virgo, we do that to ourselves. Virgos do that a lot. That's just going to make it worse and make you feel worse about it. I would say just let your body and your mind do what it wants to at this moment. And then when you're ready to do it, you'll be ready. But if it's a long, ongoing, long-standing thing, then of course, then you want to think about other ways to try to motivate yourself. But if it's just like a little hump that you're trying to get over, like a little time period in your life, then I wouldn't pressure yourself more. Just let it pass and do what your body feels like it wants to resonate with. Nana Rose, yes, this is a time for new beginnings. Death card means endings, new beginnings. Jonah, Len, I was also a black sheep. Yeah, I think a lot of people who are in the spiritual community and who are light workers or empaths, unfortunately, we kind of like felt like that. In the positive, we have abilities to help people, and in the negative, a lot of times you feel kind of alienated from your birth family. Do you think you were a witch in your previous life? I don't know why, but I feel I was. And that's from Wee Bird. I feel like, unfortunately, there's such a bad stigma with that word, even though originally all it meant was wise woman. There's such a terrible stigma with that word. I don't like using that word, even though essentially that's what I do, but it's only for good. And, the thing also about that too is that I think that it's kind of dangerous to use that word sometimes because people are just so ignorant about what that stuff is and what it means, and that you can do good things or bad things. It's not all bad. It's not all good. It can be light or dark. They have such a stigma about it that it's hard to use that word, but in the sense of it being positive and utilizing energy to create and having wisdom, then yes, I do consider myself that. But I had a few readings done on me before, which one of them was unsolicited. Like I used to have people come up to me and just do random readings on my energy without asking for money even. Sometimes they would ask for money, but other times they just wanted to read me. I think other spiritual people can read other spiritual people for some reason, even when you don't know your true abilities yet. This was in my earlier 20s before I started doing this more. I started really doing readings with people heavily and getting more into this in my mid 20s. So it's been several years now I've been doing it, and I've I've been exposed to it since I was a little girl, but actually heavily practicing stuff was since my mid 20s. So I had people come up to me and read me before, and a couple of them said that that's what I was in a past life. So to answer your question, I think maybe, yeah, I was in a past life. This life, I know I am. But I don't like to always use that word just because there's so much stigma with it and so much sometimes scary hatred towards it too, with certain individuals. Nana Rose, is there possible to see two outcomes to any situation when reading tarot? That's a great question. Yeah, I think it is. But I think sometimes, at least for me, you have to directly ask, what's the other outcome? That's actually a good idea. That I could, if somebody wants to know and they get a reading, I could directly ask what another outcome is and if there is another outcome, because usually things will follow a similar pattern and end up the way the cards are reading. But sometimes if you make one decision differently, there could be a different outcome. Hi, April. Thanks for coming. So basically, yeah, I guess there was one more thing that I wanted to say. If somebody else has a question that they want to ask before I sign off, you can, but I forgot what I was going to say. So just ask it now if you'd like, and then I'm going to sign off, okay? Let me just see if there's stupid chat box is cutting it off. So the last question I'll answer, and then I'm gonna sign off, is from Brenda. Have you ever had an out of body experience? Yeah, I have a couple of times. One was when I was sleeping, and then another one was when I was conscious. The one when I was sleeping was during a time when I was going through a lot of stuff, and it wasn't such a great experience. And then the other time was another time where I had just avoided something really terrible from happening, and there was like a voice that was speaking to me, telling me what to do to protect myself, and that actually was a very narrow escape I had, which I think God to this day, I'm not sure if it was a male guardian angel or Archangel Michael or Jesus. It was just a very direct voice, and I was outside of my body and the spirit was speaking to me. I didn't see them, but it was a very gentle but stern male voice. So I don't know if that's considered outer body, but it was kind of outer body because I wasn't really quite in my body. It's hard to describe. Um, and it was a situation that was really difficult and would have been probably had changed me for the rest of my life if it had happened, and not in a good way. And so I think that for whatever reason, that spiritual energy intervened and really didn't want that to happen, because maybe the spirit knew that that wasn't going to be good for my life purpose and plan, that particular event. I'll probably do, I'll probably do a separate video about this kind of stuff. Where I share, where it's not live, where it's recorded, and I can just talk about stuff more freely without any energy interference. But yeah, so outer body experiences, in my experience, I'm sure some of them can be nice, but in my experience, they were always in traumatic situations. So to recount them and talk about them in detail can sometimes bring up stuff again. But to answer your question, yes, I have had a couple of them. And a lot of times they can be in situations that are meant to get things going for you so that something terrible doesn't happen. You're welcome. Anna TW. Well, Celine is one of my angels, and I know that she's my angel because that name always comes to my mind whenever I hear messages from her. So she's my angel that I feel like guides me in cards and helps me with, mostly with helping others. She's my angel that kind of helps me with helping you guys and helping other people that I did as a therapist and as a social worker when I used to do that. I know she's the one who's mostly with me. The one that was a very protective force, I think, is something different. The time I actually heard in a scary situation I was talking about when I had an outer body experience, that was a male angel guide. And I feel very strongly, at first I thought it was the voice of Jesus. And I know that that's a big claim to say that you heard the voice of Jesus, but I really did at first feel that it was the voice of Jesus. Then I more directly pinpointed it and felt like it was the voice of Archangel Michael. And I do strongly feel that if it wasn't an angel that's very similar to him, it was Archangel Michael that I heard, because he's usually the right hand to Jesus and God. So that voice, it was just very powerful and directive, but it was kind, which is more how Michael is portrayed. So I've had experience with archangels, my own angel guides, and Celine. Celine comes in more so like on a day-to-day, like I think she's more like my friendly guardian angel that's kind of like always there. But to answer your question, again, in a roundabout way, I'm sorry, is that Anna, I just hear that name whenever I hear that guidance or the voice. And it was like a female, like softer, young voice, almost like adolescent sounding. Doesn't mean that she's that age, but that's what the voice sounds like. And yeah, it's just very, and it's interesting too, because it's that name, but that was never a name, that was never a name that was like I wanted to name like a child or something, like back when I was going to have a child. Like it's never a name that I was going to use for that. It was never a name that I was going to name one of my cats when I had cats, like, or when I had a dog. Like, so it's just a name that came to my mind for specifically for that spirit guide, not for anything else. Not like it's a favorite name that I had. It is a beautiful name, but it's not, you know what I mean? So it was very particular to her. So you can find out you have a spirit guide by just asking. You can do cards about it. You can use a pendulum asking if they're there. There's a lot of different ways to do it. But I'm going to end this now. I've been on here for 29 minutes. And I appreciate, again, all you guys for coming in, for being so curious about these kind of things. That's nice that you want to know. And maybe I'll do a video about this at some point, just about my background a little bit more, or how I know certain things and different experiences I had. Maybe I'll do a recorded video about that sometime. And I'll write in the community section, like if you have a question, leave your question down here, and then I'll make a recorded video about it. But I just wanted to share with you guys the stuff about the full moon. And that's it. So thank you for watching. And not the full moon, the new moon. It's not a full moon. We already had the full moon this month. Correcting myself, sorry. It's the new moon. So thank you for watching. And if you want your own reading, go to my website or email me if you need clarification at naomitarot1199@gmail.com. And I see some money increasing for everybody. I just picked this out of the drawer to give us a lasting ending message. So the new moon may bring new money. Thank you guys. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.